Hello guys, today we will talk about another interesting documentary. In the long story of American history, few leaders have sparked as much admiration, debate, and long-term impact as Andrew Jackson. To some, he was a defender of democracy, a man of the people, and a symbol of American resilience. To others, he was a controversial figure whose decisions left deep marks on the nation's identity. But beyond opinions and emotion, one truth stands firm. Andrew Jackson helped shape the presidency itself, transforming it from a constitutional office into a powerful institution led by the will of the people. His influence continues to echo through American politics, culture, and leadership even generations later. Andrew Jackson's journey begins far from privilege or comfort. Born on March 15, 1767, in a small backcountry settlement known as the Waxhaws, located on the uncertain border between North Carolina and South Carolina, Jackson entered the world fatherless. His father died just 3 weeks before his birth, leaving his mother, Elizabeth Hutchinson Jackson, to raise Andrew and his brothers during a time of poverty, uncertainty, and colonial conflict. As a child, he had little access to formal education, and yet, he developed a bold personality, strong-willed, passionate, and fiercely independent. The American Revolutionary War would forever define young Andrew. At only 13, he joined the local militia as a courier. This early involvement placed him directly in harm's way. During one encounter, he was captured by British soldiers and ordered to clean a soldier's boots. When Andrew refused, standing firm with pride and defiance, the officer slashed him with a sword, leaving permanent scars, both physical and emotional. These scars would fuel a lifelong passion for American independence, patriotism, and hatred toward tyranny in any form. His losses during the war were heartbreaking. His older brother Hugh died while serving in the Continental Army. Later, both Andrew and his brother Robert contracted smallpox during captivity. Robert would not survive. Soon after, Andrew's mother died from illness while serving as a volunteer nurse for captured American soldiers. By the time the war ended, Andrew Jackson was an orphan, left alone at just 14 years old. Although tragedy marked his youth, it also hardened his resolve. After the war, Jackson began studying law, eventually earning a license to practice. His fierce personality, commanding presence, and talent in persuasion quickly earned him a reputation in the rough and expanding frontier society. He moved west into what was then the Tennessee frontier, where opportunity awaited those bold enough to pursue it. There, Andrew Jackson became a successful lawyer, landowner, and businessman, setting the foundation for his rising influence. Jackson entered public service as Tennessee's first representative in the United States House of Representatives, later serving in the Senate. Still, it wasn't politics alone that brought him national fame, it was war. During the War of 1812, when the United States once again faced powerful enemies, Andrew Jackson became a national hero, serving as a major general in the U.S. Army. He led troops through difficult frontier campaigns against British forces and their Native American allies. His leadership was strict and disciplined, earning him the nickname Old Hickory, a name inspired by the strength and unbreakable character of hickory wood. But it was the Battle of New Orleans that would define him. In January 1815, with the war technically coming to an end, British forces launched a massive invasion to seize control of New Orleans, and with it, the Mississippi River. Outnumbered, outgunned, and facing professional British troops, Andrew Jackson organized a defense made up of militia, frontiersmen, enslaved men promised freedom, Native American allies, and even pirates led by Jean Lafitte. Against all expectations, Jackson's forces achieved a decisive victory. The United States lost only a handful of soldiers, while British casualties exceeded 2,000. News articles across the nation celebrated Jackson as a hero who had helped preserve American independence. This victory transformed Jackson into a symbol of national pride, courage, and leadership. He represented opportunity, the belief that any American, regardless of birth or wealth, could rise through hard work, determination, and loyalty to country. His growing popularity set the stage for a new chapter, the presidency. Andrew Jackson ran for president in 1824. He won the most popular votes and the most electoral votes, yet did not secure a majority. The election was decided by the House of Representatives, where John Quincy Adams was chosen instead. The press described the moment as a corrupt bargain, suggesting political elites had conspired to block Jackson's victory. The headlines ignited public anger and fueled Jackson's determination to return stronger. 4 years later, in 1828, Andrew Jackson ran again, and this time, he won by a large margin. His victory marked a shift in American politics. For the first time, a man born in poverty, raised without privilege, and shaped by hardship had become President of the United States. His inauguration drew enormous crowds. Some newspapers described Washington as filled with cheering farmers, laborers, soldiers, and ordinary Americans. It symbolized a new era, the rise of what many would call Jacksonian democracy. As president, Andrew Jackson believed that government should serve the will of the people, not the interests of the wealthy or the politically connected. One of his first major actions was opposing the Second Bank of the United States. Jackson believed the bank held too much influence and power, benefiting only a select financial elite. In his famous veto message, he argued that the bank was unconstitutional and unfair. This bold challenge reshaped American economic policy and demonstrated Jackson's willingness to confront powerful institutions. Jackson also introduced what became known as the spoils system, replacing government officials with his supporters. His belief was simple: public service should rotate, preventing long-term political corruption. Though controversial, the system signaled a shift toward strengthening executive power and promoting loyalty in government roles. Another defining issue of Jackson's presidency was the nullification crisis. When South Carolina attempted to nullify federal tariffs, threatening secession, Jackson took a firm and uncompromising stance. He declared that no state had the right to break the Union. His message was clear: the United States was one nation, not a loose collection of independent states. His leadership during this crisis strengthened federal authority and preserved national unity. Yet, not all of Jackson's decisions were celebrated. His support for the Indian Removal Act of 1830 led to the forced relocation of thousands of Native Americans from their ancestral lands. This journey, marked by suffering and loss of life, later became known as the Trail of Tears. Historians continue to debate this policy, recognizing both the national expansion it enabled and the human cost it inflicted. Despite controversy, Jackson's impact remained broad. Under his leadership, voting rights expanded for white male citizens as many states removed property requirements. Public engagement in politics increased dramatically. More Americans saw themselves not just as observers of government, but as participants in a democratic system shaped by their voices. Jackson's 2 presidential terms reshaped political power, strengthened the executive branch, and set precedents that future leaders would inherit. After leaving office in 1837, he retired to his estate, the Hermitage, in Tennessee. Even in retirement, Jackson remained influential in Democratic Party politics, mentoring leaders and shaping future policy discussions. As time passed, his health declined. Years of war wounds, emotional strain, and physical hardship had taken a toll. On June 8, 1845, Andrew Jackson passed away. Newspapers across the country reflected on his life with a mixture of admiration and debate. Some articles praised him as a champion of democracy and a protector of the nation. Others questioned his harsh policies and presidential power. But regardless of perspective, no one could deny that Andrew Jackson's impact was lasting. Today, Andrew Jackson remains one of the most discussed figures in American history. His life represents a story of ambition, resilience, leadership, and transformation. A boy born into poverty who rose to the highest office in the land. A soldier who defended his nation with unshakable determination. A president who expanded democratic participation and strengthened the power of the executive branch. A leader whose decisions shaped the nation's government, economy, and identity. And like many figures in history, his legacy is not one-dimensional. It is complex, marked by triumph, conflict, vision, and consequence. He left behind questions that historians continue to examine, lessons that leaders continue to interpret, and foundations that continue to influence the American presidency. Andrew Jackson's journey, from frontier orphan to national icon, remains a powerful chapter in the American story. A reminder of how leadership, for better or for worse, can change the direction of a nation. And as the echoes of his life fade into history, they leave behind reflection, slow, steady, and lasting, reminding us that the past continues to shape the present, and its lessons continue to guide the future. Thank you for watching, and if you like such courageous stories, then do subscribe the channel.